This episode is brought to you by Whitaker Garage Doors, your one-stop shop for all things garage doors, proudly based in Peekskill, New York. Your home is a direct reflection of your personal style, and let's face it, your garage doors are the first thing people see when they pull up your driveway. Whether you're looking for the timeless charm of a classic carriage house door or the clean, sleek look of a basic wood finish, Whitaker Garage Doors offers traditional options for every taste and budget. I can personally vouch for their incredible service. When I had my own garage doors done, I was blown away by their timeliness, professionalism, and overall respect for their clients. Jonathan, Cassara, and their entire team are top-notch, and they really go the extra mile to ensure you're happy with the final result. So if you're in the market for a new garage door or need some repairs, give them a call or find them on Instagram at Whitaker_doors. Don't forget to tell them you're a friend of Dave's over at the No Snooze podcast. Whitaker Doors. You won't regret it. Now, back to the epi. If you're looking to work out and support a great cause, Fit for Duty is for you. Join us on May 17th at the Sale House in Tarrytown at 9 a.m. for a fun morning of fitness, food, and music. Come out and join Mike Coonahan, Mike Trotter, and the Reps for Responders team for a unique experience featuring a cold plunge, a police academy-style workout, brunch, and great music. Reps for Responders focuses on improving the physical and emotional survivability skills of first responders, helping them make responsible decisions both on the job and in their personal lives. Their services support the mental health and well-being of police officers, firefighters, EMS, EMTs, correction officers, military personnel, and nurses, active and volunteer, with the ultimate goal of reducing suicide rates within the first responder community. There are ticket options to work out and brunch or just to spectate and come eat with the crew. You can grab yours at fitforduty.repsforresponders.org. If you're interested in showcasing your business, sponsorship opportunities are still available. For more information, you can find them on Instagram at repsforresponders. This is an event you don't want to miss, so get your tickets today, and we'll see you out there on May 17th. Adversity? Bring it. The struggle? I welcome it. Snooze on life? Never that. I am Dave Regina, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on. Welcome back, No Snooze Podcast, episode 217. As always, I'm in the booth with a phenomenal three. We have Mark Scram Jones Schemmer, Claudio the Voice Valenzuela, and I am Dave the Body Regina. Mark Scram Jones Schemmer is a New York native hailing from New Rochelle. Scram is a versatile producer, DJ, songwriter, and two-time Grammy-nominated music creator with over 2 decades of experience. He's collaborated with a powerhouse lineup of artists, including Nas, Eminem, Mariah Carey, Rick Ross, T.I., Dave East, The Lox, and Jim Jones. Scram's production and songwriting skills have been featured on iconic albums like Mariah Carey's The Emancipation of Mimi, the Biggie Duets, Lloyd Banks' first album, and projects with Eminem and the Diplomats. Today, he continues to keep the airwaves buzzing, mixing live on Sirius XM Shade 45. A proud father, Scram's passion for music and the culture continues to fuel his work, making him a true force in the industry. Scram, welcome to the podcast, my brother.
Thank you for having me, bright and early.
Listen, let's get it, baby. First and foremost, we have to shout out Hannah and Sir Studio.
Absolutely.
Your skin is looking tight, my brother.
Oh, man, shout to her, shout to the team, they pampered me. I've never been pampered like that before in my life.
I was going to say, have you ever done that?
Not to that capacity.
Right?
Not with, with the steam, the infrared, the cold, the massage, all types of, I didn't really like the pop in the blackheads, but I guess you got to do that.
Yeah.
But they're great. Shout to them. everyone check them out.
Yeah. I get I call it the no wrinkle and no pimple special.
Oh,
so they pop my blackheads and they give me a little Brotox. You know what I'm saying?
The
Keep that on
Brotox.
keep that on the low.
I like
Don't
that
tell nobody
Brotox.
about that.
All right.
Before we get started, I do want to also shout out Ace Sanctuary. Action cultivates excellence. Last night we had our third sold out men's leadership dinner. What incredible community. It was inspiring. It was impactful. So if you're a man out there looking to take charge of your life, looking to take leadership, come check us out. We do it once a month, Sale House in Tarrytown with my partner, Sean Degnan. Scram, I have to start with your nickname. Where does the nickname Scram come from?
It basically comes from all the way going back to probably elementary school. As you just said, my government name, my first name is Mark, M-A-R-C. And the irony is that I couldn't even pronounce my R's as a kid, so I couldn't even pronounce my own name. I used to say Mark, and they used to like laugh at me in class. I used to take speech class. But anyway, I actually hated my name, but it was Mark S. My last name starts with an S, and there was other Marks in the class, so I always have to put my last initial on the paper. And just being, whether it's ADD, dyslexic, whatever, I used to write my name backwards, which was spelled Scram. And then, when it got cool to tag the bathroom walls, or just, when tagging was in, I used to write Scram everywhere. So fast forward 15 years old, I get my first turntables. I was already had a nickname Scram, and I just became DJ Scram. And then later, and I produced, when you get nicknames, people add stuff. Hey, Scram Boogie, hey, Scram Jones. And when I started making beats, I was like, I don't want to be produced by DJ Scram. So I took what people were calling me Scram Jones, and I just made that my production name.
I love when there's a story attached to names like that. But yeah, I had a bad experience one time with a backwards name. We won't get into that. We spoke about it off air.
Funny story.
It's definitely not appropriate. But yeah, man, like I'm looking at you, and we grew up close to each other. You're a little bit older than I am. I know you probably think I'm older than you, but I'm 35.
Okay.
So I'm Mount Vernon, New York. You're in New Rochelle.
For sure.
What was your background like? Like where are you from, and what's the nationality?
Okay, so born and raised in New Rochelle. Went to all the public schools in New Rochelle. Nationality is always interesting for me to answer, like I was saying off the camera, because my parents were born in South Africa. I've never been there. They immigrated when my mother was pregnant with my older sister. She didn't want to have kids in that environment, whatever it was. She came here when she was pregnant, and they never went back. So I've never been there, but that's where my parents are from. So I never ever say that I'm South African, because I don't even know my family members over there. I never been there, but that is where my parents are from. I always say I'm a New Yorker. I'm an American.
Yep.
And that's my nationality.
Yeah. So I'm a complete disaster.
Yeah.
I'm an Italian Jew.
Okay.
Right. And today I identify as Christian.
Yeah.
Right. But you're also Jewish. Your family's
Right.
Jewish.
So my family, I was raised Jewish for sure.
Yep.
And even got family in Israel too. You know what I mean? On my father's side. So I used to visit my grandparents over there, and just very very interesting, like you say, because we're New Yorkers, and of course, our generations back lived other lives in different different nationalities, but yeah.
So the South African Jew. I mean, that's dope. Like growing up, I was an Italian Jew, and that was ironic. But this is
said,
great.
I'm from the motherland, but I'm not the brother, man. I mean, it is what it is.
I love it, man. Your career, man, spanned decades. Very impressive. Working with icons, man. It's very nostalgic for me to hear some of the names that you work with, specifically just like Nas and M and Mariah, Rick Ross. Now, all the guys, man.
Yeah.
But what mindset shifts, I guess, help you stay relevant and ahead of the curve, working with like older artists like that, and then new artists of today?
Well, I always, I was a hip hop maniac growing up. I was always a music collector. So from the cassettes to the CDs to then when I DJ'd with the vinyl. So I always was a student of the game. I always was then practicing the culture. The culture was very, people don't realize in New Rochelle, Mount Vernon, we're like 10 minutes from the Bronx. Like we're like, very close to the birth of hip hop. And in those late 80s and early 90s, it was just flourishing in our cities, you know what I mean? And I even tell stories when I was in second grade, going out in elementary school, and kids were breakdancing with the cardboard or this, that, and then middle school people are freestyling, and then high school now we're doing DJ battles, and I'm buy a 4-track and doing the mixtape. So I've always been a student of it, and I always like salute all the legends, and so I basically, when I was able to cross paths with them, of course I wanted to work with all my idols, with all the legends, but at the same time, as a DJ, as a current DJ that's in the club, you have to stay, and on the radio now, you have to stay up with the times and what the younger kids are listening to, and you start loving it too, because it's different forms of art form. We could be a old school snob and say, oh, these rappers can't rap like the old guys, because we did grow up in the Renaissance where it was the best rappers ever. There'll never be that by 2000, like, we hit the top of the mountain with skills. Yeah. You know what I mean? And now it's more about swag. It's more about the production. It's more about, the flows, not necessarily the lyrics. So I still love to play. I'll play Future in the club, and I'll play Drake, and I love the trap music for those time periods when you're in the club and you hear the bass rumbling and that. But then in the car, you may want to listen to Nas or Jada or something to hear some bars. So I love all music. I always say I'm not a hip hop head. I'm a music head. So I love all music, and I like the young stuff and the old stuff. You know?
Yeah, I'm thinking back, man, and I remember. So my family loved going to Chinatown, man. Like it was just a thing, right? So on Canal Street, right, we would like get like fake CDs and stuff.
Yep.
My first album, my first rap album that I listened to, and maybe you could tell me the year this was, because I'm not really remembering the age, but I was very young with a cassette player with Snoop Dogg, The Last Meal. A very vulgar album for a
So
young kid.
Was that when he was with Master P? No. That was,
I don't know the exact year, but I was young, man. And I say that because I guess for you, what was your first intro to like real rap
vulgar
music? Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Shout to like Yo MTV Raps and like, Video Music Box, like these old, that, and of course like some other underground stations. But being able to visually see it on Yo MTV Raps, when that came out, I recorded every video. I have VHS tapes. I couldn't believe they had a whole hour of just hip hop, videos. So I was glued to it. And if I liked something, I would always beg my mom to take me to Yonkers, to Essential Lab, to the Wiz. Can we go to the Wiz? Can we go to the Wiz? Because that's where we get the cassettes. And every week I'd get so I had everything. I would get the 2 Live Crew and the Ice-T, but I would still get, Slick Rick and Big Daddy Kane or EPMD. But I was getting put on by these videos from Video Music Box or Yo MTV Raps. And then, if you got lucky on the radio to catch some of that old school, and I would sit there and write all the lyrics, and you know what I mean? But that was probably the way I got introduced. That, and honestly, seeing these kids breakdancing when I was young, I used to think hip-hop was called breakdancing music. I used to tell my mom, can you get me some breakdancing music? And they literally, as a child, on my Fisher-Price turntable, my first records was a vinyl that said Electric Breakdance, and it was a compilation of old school breakdancing records, which were hip-hop records, and the Breakin' soundtrack, and then Michael Jackson Thriller. And those are like my 3 records, and me and my sister would run around. We had like an empty room in the house we would just run in circles. I would do flips and try to spin in my head. My mom used to always say, "You're gonna break your neck. What are you doing?" And we just spaz out to this music. And that was probably my intro right there,
Wow, you said Fisher-Price turntables, man. So
one turntable, not two.
Yeah. Was that something that your parents kind of just bought you, or you were interested at such a young age?
My dad always had lots of vinyl, but he was listening to classic music. He'd be listening to Beethoven, but he would have, and he'd be so delicate with the, wiping with the felt, wiping the vinyl. When I just became a DJ, he was losing his mind. He couldn't believe I was scratching. Like, you're ruining the record. I said, no, these needles go both ways. Your needles only go one way. These, it's on the groove. But he was so careful. And so he used to listen to classical music and had his vinyls. And I guess back then vinyls were a thing where it's like, they knew I wanted to hear music, and they wound up, instead of getting a cassette player, they bought me a little Fisher-Price turntable.
So
the irony.
How does it feel? Like, do you talk about this type of stuff often, going back that far?
Not really. But when I think about, obviously, the nostalgia kicks in, because it was so, the thing about hip-hop, well, just music in general, as a kid, that I just loved music, because I would listen to rock music. I would listen to freestyle, But hip-hop specifically, it was so exciting because it was new, it was exclusive. It wasn't mainstream. And it was like, what is this? And you had selective records that you could get access to. And you would just feel like it was just so fire. You know what I mean? So I was so addicted to, Slick Rick and Special Ed. Like, it was just the coolest shit ever. So, I just collected. And then when I went to high school, I realized the DJs had most of the exclusives, because we used to battle who had the best mixtapes. Oh, I got this Ron G mixtape. I got this doo-wop. You don't got this, Graham. And I'd be like, hold on. And I decided I'm going to be a DJ. And I started getting the records, and I said, hey, I got the instrumentals now. I got, and that was a whole high school thing that motivated me. I didn't know I'd be every day busting sweats, trying to learn scratches and freestyling and stuff. I didn't know that was going to happen. I just wanted the newest music.
Wow, bro.
Yeah.
This world is full of distractions, and it was back then, but especially today. Yeah. I look at you and I'm like, wow, like you once you found out what you wanted to do, you really stayed focused with that, right? And how do you continue like to keep that focal point? And when did you know that, okay, this is going to be a career for me? Was it off of a passion? And obviously you're so interested in it, right? You love doing it.
Right.
But what was it that kept you focused?
Well, I was, like I said, I loved the DJ. I loved collecting music, and I would also write. I would write rhymes in class all day. I would just, so it was something that I loved. And then when I finally got to 12th grade, 11th, 12th grade, when I realized you have to declare, like, what are you going to do? Because I was a bad kid as a teenager. I'm not going to lie. You know what I'm saying? We were doing the 40s and the blunts and cutting school and shoplifting and just being assholes. You know what I mean? I look back and to this day, I like say sorry to my parents. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know. But when I finally got out the clouds and realized I have to declare what I'm going to do, I said, oh, music. I want to learn audio production. So I went to college for that. And to be honest, I couldn't even get into I got into Ithaca College, but it was my grades were too low, or I think it was too late to make that a major. So I wound up doing actually sociology, and that was a minor. And I actually graduated with a minor. That was the irony. They wouldn't, and even in junior year, they still wouldn't let me into school because my grades, I guess, weren't high enough. So anyway, the point is, I knew I wanted to do something that I loved, and the most thing I enjoyed was music. So anything to do with music, I wanted to be involved with. And I realized audio production would be the evolution of DJing, to learn how to actually make it, you know?
And now do you think, so something, I guess that comes to mind is now consistency, right? But being consistent in a world full of those distractions like we're talking about, because essentially with hip hop and rap and, just the game in general, there's a lot of distraction, whether it be drugs, alcohol, women, all this stuff. Like, how did you continue to remain consistent on that path, regardless of the environments that's going on around you?
I was lucky to wear many hats in a sense, whether it was me just being ADD with it or what, because after college, like, I dropped my first record as an artist, and I had, deals on the table, and I worked with big producers, and I was releasing my own stuff, and I started hosting an open mic show where I was rapping every week, but when that didn't unfold the way I wanted it to, and I realized I like to be more behind the scenes, and I started producing, that became my main thing. But then once I got all these placements and made this money, and I wound up moving in with the female, and I realized I couldn't be creative in the environment anymore because I was just being drained from what was going on in the house. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of, I wanted to get the hell out of that house, and that's where my studio was. So I pushed up the levels of DJing. Now I'm in the clubs every night. You know what I mean? So I pivoted from producing, even though I was still coming out with music, but not to the capacity I was when I was living by myself in the Bronx with just every day making beats, Now I'm like, shit, I'm losing my creative thing because I'm getting drained here. Let me, you know what I mean? I got to still earn a living. Now I'm in the clubs every night DJing, and that was kind of how I escaped a toxic environment, but I stayed relevant. And then when you go to these clubs, you see the artists. So now I'm running into artists, and now they're more approachable. I'm getting phone numbers. And so I circled the block again and said, okay, now that I'm making beats, I have direct to some of these artists. Or they're not going to brush me off because I'm the DJ in the club last night, or the club that you're at every week.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I maneuvered in that world.
Yeah, it's very intentional, but also I think it was very strategic on your end because you were like, all right, I'm in this toxic environment right now, but I still need to find a way to do what I do. So you took yourself out of one toxic environment and kind of landed yourself in these clubs, and
which
stuff.
also became a toxic environment. Even though I love, but but then what comes with clubs, nightlife, especially when you're in your 20s. Fast forward now, obviously we take it more serious like as a job, but back then, there would be. The drugs, the smoking, the drinking, the women, the this, the late nights, you know what I mean? It came with it, So that was a hard time for me, even though I was blessed to be doing music, and from the outside looking in, I was successful. But personally, I was juggling, self-control or juggling, just trying to stay sane, to be honest with you.
I gotta get that, man. Like I went through a rough patch too in my 20s, man, and I made a lot of mistakes in the clubs, specifically Dykeman area, man.
Okay,
like I would just
uptown.
I was uptown just because of the bottle service. Like it's way cheaper. Like
for sure.
Going uptown, getting $100 bottles, 150. You could feel like the man. You know what I mean? Like you could feel like the man.
There's some nice women there too.
Yeah, but it was just a bad environment for to be in, man. I got married pretty young, and divorced now.
Right.
In a healthy relationship now. So
Nice.
Put that out there.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
At that time, man, like the club scene can be really, really detrimental to someone's success. So when I talk to you, when I talk to like Shortcuts, shout out to Joe, like I look at you two guys and I'm like, wow, like I know they must have battled certain things, but the intention and the focus is very impressive, man.
Yeah, no, and I would, and I love to DJ. People don't always talk about. People see, you get to be, with the cool crowd, or you're cool, you're DJing. It's like there's a connection. There's an energetic, not to get too deep, but there's an energetic connection with you and the people you're playing music for. You both you're controlling the music and the vibration and the frequency in the room. And when you get a reaction and it's a return of energy, like you really get addicted to that connection. If it's a good party, you could have horrible parties with asshole people sitting around like this, but then you got people, rooting you on and singing the words with you, and it's a great feeling. And I'm just like I used to, when I used to write rhymes and do punchlines, and then always want to have like a metaphor in every line. I also approach DJing like that. I always like to do like wordplay, and like I sit for hours trying to put records together cleverly, so then I could perform them out and play them differently than other DJs. So I would nerd out in these places, and people would recognize it. That's why I was booked a lot, because I would play differently, and that was always fun to me. You know what I mean? To this day, it is.
Yeah. What would you say was your first like big break in terms of a relationship? Because you look at the industry, and it's got to be relationships that drive that, right? Like one connection can take you to the moon.
I always say it's not what you know, it's who you know. So my biggest. I'll say my biggest one, and I've shared this story multiple times, but it's glued in my head.
Yeah.
Was I was engineering for Nori, so Nori had a studio on Madison Ave. He called it the Hood Lab. It was literally 6 empty rooms. There was no heat. There was mice running around, but he had that one room with the computer and the microphone. The rest, he just had his whole team there, his gang, just hanging out. And once I went there for the first time to produce for him, whatever. He said, "Can you engineer?" I said, "Yeah." So he would hit me every day, come through. And a lot of times we would just be chilling, because that's he likes to have. I always laugh about this. This is when we had the sidekicks. So he would literally wake up every day and say, "Where you at?" But it'd be like the 15 people, because he always would want everyone to be there. He's just, and he took it into a career now. Like he's a very social human being in that. But that being said, I would produce and engineer for him for free, but just to be in the space. And, I would share a story of a friend that was also doing the same thing, but he got fed up that he wasn't getting paid, and he got out of there. And I was telling him there's value in being in this room, because there's different artists and industry people walking in and out this space. He's an ally to everyone. He's one of the most likable, artists at the time and to this day. So anyway, long story short is I was engineering for him. And what happens? Mariah Carey walks in.
Wow.
So now this is DVD era, where they're pulling out the cameras. That everybody's Nori never even met her. Everyone's drunk, and a bunch of the hood dudes there with bubble jackets, and it was just the weirdest shit. And I'm sitting there in front of the boards like this, like I think someone might have tapped me. It was just like, "Yo, play some beats," they just bullshitting, like they just talking with her. Start playing my beats in the background. Get to the maybe 5th beat. What's that? She said, "What beat is that? I like that." Oh, he made the beat. Oh, what's your name? This, that. Next thing you know, the manager comes over, "Let me get your contacts." Next day I sent the CD over, and she didn't pick that one. She picked another one I did, and that one won 3 Grammys, you know what I mean? Got me my house, all that shit. I always tell Nori, brother, whatever you need, but he appreciated that I was there for free. So the point is, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and that was my break. And now a lot of people would be doing that, you know what I mean, to doing all that for free and spending all that time with free production, free engineering, and just sitting there. But I knew that I was in an exclusive circle, and it paid off when she walked in that room.
I'm getting the chills, man, because one, I love networking and the power of just like, really working with people and collaboration in general. But you're speaking on something that's so critical for people because we live in a world of like, we want that instant gratification and the microwavable results. But the reality is, to bake the cake, baby, you got to put that oven on, let it preheat. Exactly. You got to cook it for 45 minutes.
People think about the short play, not the long play. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. It's just people like, they need that immediate return.
Yep.
And I'm like, hold on, we're planting seeds. You got to water them, and you got to wait to them.
So now you were intentional about this, because like I'm looking at CV. Is this hitting for you, bro? Are you shaking your head back there? Because CV, he's one that like, again, we all love, like, we love business, and we all want to go to the moon real quick.
Of course.
But he actually just started doing this stuff with Kai Visions here in the studio full time. Right. And it's been tough for him because like, he does projects with individuals that maybe he's not making the money that he wants to make. And we constantly have the conversation of like, yo, just stay in the game. Like, breaks are happening, and they're already happening for him. So hearing this, though, I'm thinking of you immediately, right behind the scenes, man.
Yeah, no, the people that I might have slept on the most, or I've done stuff, and I'm like, why am I doing this, whatever. And it may even be someone lower on the totem pole, but they may connect you with someone that changes your life. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's 1 degree to a potential blessing. So I don't sleep on anybody, you know? Like,
and I love how you didn't come on this and just say, oh, like, shout out to Mariah. You took it back to Nori, who was actually the intro to Mariah.
Absolutely.
But then you created your own relationship. Fire, bro. And I think that's so tangible for people to just really take away and realize that if you are passionate about doing something, like, the break will come, but you got to be disciplined. You got to be consistent. Right. And you also have to have belief in yourself. So I'm looking at you as when you hit that button, there was probably some doubt in your mind.
Yeah.
Right? And you were like, nah, like, this is what I do, baby. I'm going to play this beat.
Yeah. And it was about, it's funny, it's on YouTube. You could literally Google this because they had the DVDs running. So they're interviewing her, and she's like, and Dame Dash. So basically, Nori had just got signed to Rock La Familia. That's when the whole reggaeton movement started. Mm-hmm. So Dame Dash had signed him and surprised him with Mariah. But it's on if you type in Nori Mariah, you could see, you see that little moment.
Yeah. Wow,
and you'll see me sitting there like so stuck. That was a cool moment.
That's crazy, man. Are you looking to elevate your brand with captivating visuals and immersive sound? Look no further than the home of the No Snooze podcast, Kai Visions Productions, your go-to destination for cutting-edge audio and video production. At Kai Visions, we don't just create content, we create experiences that leave a lasting impact. From podcasts, YouTube variety shows, sleek corporate videos, to attention-grabbing promotional campaigns, our team of experts is dedicated to turning your vision into reality. Choose Kai Visions for a production experience like no other. It's time to make your brand known. Contact us today at kaivisions@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Kai Visions. Kai Visions Productions, where audio-visual excellence meets innovation. Now, back to the epi. So what advice would you give to somebody, though, who feels like who feels stuck, whether it's in their career or they're just trying to build their own like little entrepreneurial world? What would be some advice to kind of break out?
Like I say, relationships is currency, and it's really about, once again, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So really honor your relationships and just be patient and be confident, and don't. And energy is real. Like, you gotta be, grateful. Like, I've had to cut people off that only talk about their problems. You know what I mean? Like, you have to always put things in a perspective. Just like you mentioned when you went, last night. Like somebody shared something that they were going through, and you realize that your problems weren't as bad. And it's like, you always have to have that moment of clarity where it's like, I'm in a space, with certain individuals that could change my life. Let me just be patient. But basically it's just being out there. You just have to, and you have to be likable. You really do have to be likable, because I know so many talented people that are assholes and they never made it. On the way up, to this day I could think of amazing rappers, songwriters, and I'm like, why didn't they make it? I was like, they were assholes. You know what I mean? Personality. And then other people that make it and they're not that talented, but people love them, So, and another, not to ramble, but another thing is you have to be resourceful. You have to be a resource to other people. Don't be scared to be used, like be useful, you know what I mean? I always try to be resourceful and be of service. And whether you get the return right away or not, I feel like we're supposed to be of service to help, don't get taken advantage of, but show your worth. If you're in a room and you can help somebody, you can help the engineer, or I could play the keyboard, or you want me to get you a coffee, or whatever it is, yo, I like him, bring him back tomorrow, And another thing, because you make me think of a lot of things.
Let's go.
Roll by yourself, you know what I mean? Because I used to think, I'm going to roll my boys to the studio session, and you know what I mean? Like, go by yourself, because a lot of these other artists, you're bringing other energies in with your career, and you think it's cool to bring your boy or this, that, but when you roll by yourself, you're less of a, you know what I mean? You're less of a, not threat, but you're less intrusive to these individuals, and they'll call you back knowing that you'll just be by yourself.
And also the attention is on you more, right? Because when you bring people in, you don't know if something.
I brought people in and they've ruined stuff, exactly. Like, because their energy was different than mine,
Very strategic, man. I like that. I appreciate that wisdom. What daily habits, man, like, I guess have contributed to the success? I look at you, and again, not only the skin, but like, you look good, man. Like,
thank you, man.
You look good. I'm sure you had your battles like all of us, but I mean, you look smooth, man.
I appreciate it. I go through a lot of because I've been with like I said, I lived with a female that was stage 4 cancer for a couple of years. Before that, I was with another one that was very OCD with the organic this and organic that and spiritual and all that. And I picked up a lot of stuff from them, and I became really cool with a certain shaman that actually she passed away. But like, I'm really into, I basically, like, as we know, as the veil is getting lifted and we're realizing everything's a lie when it comes to health, when it comes to the news, when it comes to politics, when it comes to everything. And I've been a student of unveiling what's healthy and what gives you longevity, whether it's in spirituality or whether it's in nutrition. So that being said, I went vegan for a while, you know what I mean? I did the whole vegan organic thing. But then, I seen the benefits in a keto diet, doing a sugar-free diet, and how terrible sugar is. So I've pivoted back and forth from saying, okay, let me clear myself out with straight organic fruit or this or that, or doing fasting. But then I've had moments where I wanted to lose weight fast, and I realized how bad sugar is. I mean, fruit is great, but when you sugar fast, doing a keto and autophagy, which I was telling you before, is when you fast and you kill all your cells. Like, I've done that multiple times. But I got an infrared sauna at my house. I got a red light at my house. I believe in earthing, and got an earthing mat, I believe in alkaline water. The list goes on of what you can do, And it's like my knowledge keeps, I'm intrigued by some of these hacks. There's a lot of human hacks that I'm learning, and I'm like, wow, I got to implement this in my life, So just forever a student, really,
Yeah, no, I love that, man. And also I think it is there's no one way.
Right.
And I love that you're open about, like, I was vegan here, then I did the ketogenic diet, and then I tried the fasting. And I think the key there is that you were consistent with the stuff while you were doing it. Right. So even whether you believe in it or not anymore, you did it and you will see results. What would you say are the 3 most important, like, habits out of all of those things that as Scram to be true to be your best self?
Well, and nutrition is one thing, and I do believe that we all need to take time to detox. You know what I mean?
Talk to me. I need this because I get hungry very quickly. Yeah. I start a fast and I suck, and I'm very disciplined in my life. Yeah. But my girl actually did a fast for, I think it was like 7 days, like you were talking about too. Talk to me about what I need to be doing with that.
Well, fasting in general, if you want to just talk about fasting, it basically heals everything. It's pretty incredible. I've even been building with Dr. Sebi's grandson. I don't know if you know about who Dr. Sebi is.
I heard the name.
He's the one that healed a bunch of people from cancer and a million different things based on the alkaline diet, based on fruits and herbs, and just fasting in general. When you deplete your body of sugar and carbs first, which is our main fuel source. It then shifts to using fats and ketones, which are made from your liver. So the second you deplete yourself of sugar and carbs and fat is your main source of fuel, you're burning all, you know what I mean? Like you lose weight so fast.
How long does that have? How long of a fast does that have to take?
So
it
could take probably 48 hours, I would say, to really, sometimes quicker, but 48 hours. And there's actually...
that's 2 days. I said, okay. two,
sometimes you can do it in
brother.
a day. A dry fast, if you do a dry fast with no water, it's equivalent to 3 water days.
I'll fall out, bro.
But there's something called ketone sticks where you could buy them and you could pit so you could see if you're in it or not and try to maintain that. Then once you get past that, there's something called autophagy, which is really the biggest life hack that you could do. And that's where your body starts eating itself. So we all have zombie cells, dead cells, cancer cells, and your body, once it's depleted of everything, starts eating them and giving you new cells, stem cells, and your growth hormone goes up. They say it's the best time to work out when you're fasting. You have more growth hormone. It's all these crazy hacks. People think, oh, you're going to be malnutrition. Oh, I'm going to get a headache. Oh, the first day you may have a headache because that you're detoxing. So you need to just say, okay, I'm going to nap all day. I'm going to whatever. But the next day you get a burst of energy because you're using new fuel. And it's called autophagy. And they're saying, people do it for 20 days sometimes. People have got rid of tumors and cysts. Like it'll eat the tumors and cysts in your body if you do it for like weeks or, So that's something I just learned. And I'm like, wow. But yes, it's crazy discipline. We all have a busy lives. How can, so that's like if you want to go, I tell myself, go get an Airbnb on the beach for like a week or a month.
Get skinny, baby.
And just freaking, and then, so that was a big thing that I learned. And it's whenever I feel like I go on a trip and I eat like shit, whatever, and I come back, I'm like, I gotta fast. That and the sauna, they saying, is so good for you. Like more because the only way we detox is through our ass, you know what I mean? And that's our skin's our number one organ, so you detox more by sweating. You get rid of more impurities, and then there's heavy metals, there's parasites, there's this, there's that. So it's more effective sauna than just saying, oh, I'm going to drink a green juice and shit out all the bad stuff inside of me. No. You know what I mean? If you really want to get rid of all those stuff, you need to sweat every day. And even the infrared, which is like deeper in your skin. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I learned that.
I like that.
All that. Then
it's fire.
Grounding is another one, that we're like electric beings. So we're like a negative ion and the earth is a positive. And when you're barefoot on the earth, like they showed like your cells separate, inflammation goes away. Like they're saying the rubber shoe like gave us mad disease. Like it stopped us from being, they said like 20 minutes a day, just literally standing on the grass. Like somebody pricked someone's finger and they showed the blood before and after. You could look it online. And they showed the cells were all clumped together. After 20 minutes on the grass, they're all floating. They're separated. So it's just like all these, and people say, oh, that's like extreme, that's hippie, no, but these are like hacks that it's like as you get to that vulnerable age, 47 years old, I'm like, all right, I want to be there for my son. I know what I did in my youth with the smoking and drinking and bad eating, and I'm like, I have to go hard in the other direction. So,
just drop some gems, man. If I knew all this, he would be Scram Jones, baby.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Try to drop some jewels.
I like that. I like that, bro. The sauna I'm huge into. I do that every day after I work out for 20 minutes.
That's amazing.
The fasting, I don't do that. It's something I need to do. And even I'm curious with the Crohn's disease, man, that I've had since I was 16 years old, if that would, even put me in a better place.
I think so.
And I think it would. I do eat a lot of red meat, though. What's your thought on the red meat?
It's hard. I get torn because, red meat,
I eat steak every day, bro.
Right. And I see and I follow the Joe Rogans or the carnivore diet guys. Like that's on my algorithm, just like the vegans are on my algorithm and the people that are anti-animal cruelty because I hate seeing these animals. Like that's another whole thing. Just the animals. I love animals and I hate to see these cows getting demolished or this, that, but that's something separate than health. Health-wise, I think as long as you have real food, you know what I mean? They say whole food, real. If you get grass-fed meat and you don't have all these extra mono carbohydrates, whatever, and you're eating clean and giving yourself time to then I don't think it's bad. You know what I mean? I don't think it's bad. I think it is acidic, and through time it could catch up to you in a sense. But if you're working out and you're active and there's a lot of iron. I think it's not bad, but eventually, I think you should always have a moment to clear it out, though. Like, so if you have meat every day, like say, all right, one day a week, I'm gonna do a 25 fruit just to clear my insides, get all that fiber. If anything's stuck in my guts from all that meat, if it's stuck in my intestines, I know this fiber is gonna just clean me out, and then I'll go back to my regular routine.
I get my clean out. I get a colonoscopy every couple of years, so I drink that stuff, and boom, I'm cleaned out.
I've done that.
No, I get it, but and this sparks a whole nother conversation of wellness because the world is so focused, and I know what protein, the importance of it, and what it's done for my life. Like I see the results, right? Sure. It's so important, but also like the protein shakes that I'm drinking, the protein bars, they're not clean.
Those I heard is not good.
Clean. Yeah.
All those, you see those ingredients, and there's like 20 things you can't pronounce. So it's like, my thing when I was on my protein hard thing, I like avocado and eggs, man. You wake up, and then, olive oil, they saying. There's a lot of oils you're supposed to be doing too. Like, so
but you have to stay away from the nut oils. The seed oils.
No, not the seed oils. Yeah. I mean, they say black seed oil is good to clear out, like, some health stuff. But they saying olive oil, you can never have enough. They say you should have like a liter a week. They saying the people that lived over 100, it's just like all had so much olive oil. You know what I mean?
I kill that every day. So and I love that you're saying that. My breakfast every single morning is 4 eggs, tomato, and avocado.
Yep.
Every morning.
And then if you throw some olive oil and some Celtic salt, because you need that salt, because water doesn't just hydrate you. To get into the cell, you got to have Celtic salt, but you don't put it in the water. You got to put it on your tongue. That's how it dissolves. Then drink the water, and then we're all magnesium deficient, so that's where you get the magnesium from. You know what I'm saying? Holla at me. I'm starting my own podcast. You know what I mean?
This, baby. Wow, this is fire, bro. Yeah. No, it's so funny. Like, just me, I would never think that that's where the conversation goes. That's what I love about podcasting, man. Such an organic.
I'll tell you some other oil, MCT oil, the coconut oil for your brain. They say our brain is mostly cholesterol, so. That egg yolk is really good for you. They said someone had eggs every day for like a year and their cholesterol went down. Like that whole facade about cholesterol. Yes, it's bad cholesterol, but the egg yolk is actually good. And they say our brain needs cholesterol. You know what I mean?
I've had eggs every day, literally every day since I was, maybe on the weekends I don't, but every day since I was about 16 years old, man. My brother used to make fun of me. I used to caddy on a golf course, and I would bring 4 eggs in my pocket in a Ziploc bag.
Wow.
Because it was one of the only things that I could digest at that time. And I never really threw the egg yolks out. Like I always ate them. Because
you got to get the pasture raised ones, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you
got chickens too, man.
Then you got to throw the little chia seeds on it too, man. You know what I mean? If you really want to get crazy,
you're cooking, my
little omega.
You cooking, baby.
Holla at me.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about how you stay motivated when faced with obstacles, right? Like, or creative blocks. What's your process look like for pushing through those tough moments?
My whole thing is isolation. I am heavily distracted. I know I'm ADD, you know what I'm saying? And I deal with being a father, having to be a partner certain times, working out. Am I going to spend today working out DJ sets? Am I going to try to do some writing? Am I going to do some production? Am I going to be on the phone all day? You know what I mean? And that's how I pivot back and forth. But I'm the best when I get the hell away from everybody. You know what I mean? So if I could take a personal trip, or if I could just, you know what I mean? Take a walk or take a weekend by myself or just go to the studio and turn my phone off. Like, it's really important. I always say, isolation is elevation. Like, and sometimes you gotta just get away from the outside energy, especially if you're super sensitive to them. So those moments when I was able to take trips, sometimes it just happens miraculously that I'm asked to DJ somewhere else. But by going there, I get some new clarity. I'm like, thank God I stepped away from my regular world. I might just be DJing somewhere, but that next day I may be in a whole new city, sitting in my hotel room and like super inspired, or, you know what I mean? And just feeling like clearer because I was able to step away. So I think traveling is important.
Traveling and being alone.
And
a lot of people struggle with that, man.
I love being alone.
I struggle with that. I got to be honest. I'm a people person. And always been just surrounded by relationships in general, whether it was friends, whether partners, whatever. But I've had some of my deepest clarity in the past couple of years just being alone.
You gotta sit with your thoughts,
very alone. Like, even my dog died, and like I remember, like, he was a big pit bull, so his claws were a little, and I would hear it on the wood, and like that would give me comfort. And then when that was gone, all these like new thoughts started to come to me. And now I enjoy like just even being in my car, turning the music off rolling the windows down and just going,
Yep.
man. But it's something that like I really had to work towards because I subconsciously was like fearful of being alone.
Right.
But a lot of power can happen if you're intentional when you're alone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm not saying you should be alone for your whole life because that could be lonely. But yeah, moments where you gotta like lock in mentally and not let anyone get into your force field.
So when I look at you, obviously, you know, you face challenges. I'm sure that most would consider setbacks. I could relate to a little bit, just growing up in Mount Vernon, New York, and you know, being a minority, right? Or I guess what was the word I'm looking for? Yeah, I was the minority, right? Like
You
being
were.
Caucasian in a African American community, and especially playing basketball my whole life, like that was very natural for me. But it definitely came with some challenges. I've definitely gotten punched in the face for being a white boy that, you know, airballed on the court, you know, but then I was that same white boy that was outside and getting buckets,
That's
you know?
right.
And I think that kind of helped me with my confidence. But how did you battle that, like just being in hip hop in general and being
I mean,
white?
I definitely got tested a lot, and you know, I had to prove myself. I mean, you know, once I got my turntables and people found out, and there was other DJs in the high school. They're like, you know, F that white boy. He not. And but I was confident with my shit, so I would battle them. I would be like, all right, come to my mom's house after school, and I would have the projects in my basement of my mom's house, and I'll be whipping ass. And I'm not lying. That's not like they'll tell you. Like I was a nerd with this shit. Like I would be in my mom's basement for hours until she came home, and it's like dinner's ready, and I'd come up there in a sweat. Like I was on a mission to like, you know, learn all these scratches and whatever it was. So, you know, but I definitely had people testing me in the DJ world, but then at the same time they'd be lined up outside waiting to, yo, what's good? Can we go to your mom's house? You know, can we go to your crib? And I would have to leave different exits of the high school to avoid, because I might have one person over and I had a 4-track, and, you know, dudes would like, you know, dudes would smoke a blunt, it's freestyle, you know, on the 4-track, and then come the next day and be like, yo, look what I did at Scram's house, and yo, I can rhyme too, Scram, let me come by. And I'm like, you know, and start avoiding motherfuckers. But I definitely had to prove myself, but I did prove myself, you know, to be honest. And some of the people that were shitty to me in the high school to this day are mad they were shitty at me because they've reemerged, and I'm like, I'm good, bro. It's been like 20 years, and bro, you know what I mean?
I could tell you one that doesn't forget either.
Yeah, hell no. And it's happened. And so I probably have a couple of haters from back then, because you're not coming in this late in the game when I busted my ass for this many years, and it looks cool from the outside. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that drive that you have is crazy. So I guess balancing the drive for success though, while staying true to yourself this whole time, man, like that was not easy to do, I'm sure.
Not at all.
But like how would you, I guess, explain that to somebody who struggles? And I feel like a lot of times when I'm talking to, you know, young artists, even in general, it's like they almost put on a facade to try to be somebody.
Right.
But when I'm looking at you, you just remain so authentic. So talk to the people about, you know, just remaining
I mean,
authentic.
ultimately we're all one of a kind, and a lot of people, you know, they're gonna follow what's trendy, and they're gonna follow what's out there, and it's hard because you get stuck from wanting to fit in, and but you wind up winning when you stand out. But when you're trying to get in it, you want to fit in. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird psychology. So people want to fit in. Yeah, I'm gonna dress like you. I'm gonna talk like you. I'm gonna make music like you. But now you're generic. Now you're a Xerox copy. So yes, you're with these guys, but you're not standing out. But then if you're totally authentic and you're like a rare, you know, because we're all rare human beings, you're gonna stand out, and you're gonna. So it's really about confidence more than anything to say, you know, so I'm gonna be myself, and the people that can't accept it aren't for me. That's not my tribe. You know, the people that gravitate to me, those are the people that I'm supposed to be around. You know, so I always say that. I say I got a bunch of sayings.
No, go ahead. I like it.
You know,
it's like me.
Yeah. I mean, one is rejection is protection. You know what I mean? I like that. You know, people don't want to mess with you, don't even force it. It wasn't meant to be. You know. And I had another one. I just forgot it.
That's right.
But that's it. Oh, well, persistence will beat resistance. You know what I mean? Just be persistent, and just like you say, like you're a God. You know, you believe. You know, heavy with God. Like it's Godspeed, God timing, and just believe. If it's not this chapter, it's next chapter. But don't get off the journey. You know what I mean? Like to this day, I still have dreams, and I'm like, damn, I'm old, and people are like, you know, you've done so much, and oh, you Scram, you're a legend. I said, bro, I haven't done shit yet. I have so many more things I want to do that I'm praying I will be able to accomplish, and that's what keeps me on the drive, because I'm not satisfied. I'm grateful, But I'm like, no, there's more to give and there's more to show. So I'm still on a mission.
I've never arrived, right?
Yeah,
But it is a it's a delicate balance to being able to look back and be like, yo, I did accomplish a lot, but I'm not satisfied yet, and I want to keep going. But as long as you remain grateful, and I think you still have that persistence, I think it's fine to be that way.
Right.
But people always ask me, they're like, when is enough enough? I'm like, I can't tell you that, and I don't know if I'll ever get to a place to where like, I'm good. Because even if you put $100 million in my pocket tomorrow, honestly, I'm not gonna stop working out. I'm not gonna stop impacting people. I'm not gonna stop like influencing people in a positive way because there's too much negativity in the world, and I love doing that.
Absolutely.
You know,
and it comes back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I even said, I remember I was like, when I'm 40, I'm gonna stop DJing. I gotta leave these clubs, or I gotta just stop DJing. And then I hit that 40. Then I hit that 45. And I told myself, I said, you know something? I'm never stopping. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't have to be in the same environment as DJing for younger kids. I mean, now thank God I could be online on Twitch if I want. Yeah. But I enjoy it so much. I'm a music collector. I love collecting music, learning new music, mixing music, blending music, whatever. That's part of my DNA. That's gonna keep me sane. So I'm gonna do that till I die. You know?
Yeah. Shout out to Yorktown Jewelers, the best in the game, serving Westchester for over 16 years. This family-owned business is built on a foundation of respect and honesty. Run by a father and son team, Myron and Mike, both men are rooted in strong morals and integrity, making them a trusted name in the community. Whether you're looking for timeless pieces or something unique, Yorktown Jewelers offers exceptional quality, a wide selection, and unbeatable pricing. When you shop here, you're not just getting great value. You're supporting a business that truly cares about its customers. For all your jewelry needs, head to Yorktown Jewelers, where trust, craftsmanship, and service shine bright. Being in that industry, though, like something that I struggled with too, for sure, for a long time, is like the theory of like keeping up with the Joneses, no pun intended, Scram. But like being in that, like it's even me, like being in the clubs. I saw my boy with a chain. I'm like, nope, I'm going to get a bigger chain. I saw my boy with a watch. Oh, I'm going to get, and I still like nice things, but like now, although I like nice things, it doesn't. I used to utilize those things as like clout.
Right.
In the hip hop industry, though, like did you make bad decisions with that stuff? Like you're looking at rappers and they spend their money real quick, but you also have to remain focused. So how'd you do that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would always buy studio equipment with my money, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I would buy expensive clothes maybe, you know, and then the thing about being a DJ is if someone takes a picture of you, that whatever you wear is a wrap. It's like a one-time wear, not one-time wear, but it's like the next party you gotta.
I wear these jeans all the time.
I mean, no, me too. But I'm just saying, like you have a shirt and you at the club last night and it's on Instagram or something. Then you're like, shit, I gotta buy something new for next week. You know, if you're like a weekly DJ. So and then you're like, oh, I got to get the cool clothes, the expensive ones. But then you get to a point like, F this, I'm wearing black tees every time I DJ. You know? I just have a closet of black tees, you know. So I went through that when I got my first money, and and I blew my first money, and and I'll be honest with you, things like I talk about the Mariah Carey shit. I went to buy the house, thinking I was getting all these royalties from it selling 10 million worldwide, 6 million in a year, but I got zero royalties because the contract wasn't right. I only found out 2 years later after I blew the whole thing on my house, you know what I mean? Because I did a pub deal, and that's the shit that happens to a lot of people, you know what I mean? It was just like, perception is not always reality. People see a plaque on your wall, they think, oh, you sold $1 million, that means you have $1 million. I got mad plaques on my wall, but a lot of them, I might have only got 10 G's for that, 50, because a lot of them you might have used a sample, or you might have, like the Biggie duets. It was a remix album. I didn't get royalties for that, but I got a plaque that says 4 million sold. Someone walks into my house, they're like, oh, this guy, got $4 million in the pocket. Yep. It's like, so, but at the same time, you do want to emulate wealth. Not wealth, but you emulate success. Like, success breeds success. People want to be around successful people. So it's not about faking it. But we do put up all our W's. We do, show the success side. We don't always show the other side. You know what I mean? Because we want people to do business with us, and we want people to invest in us, and we want people to book us. So that's the thing about we're now doing a whole other subject, but
no, I like it.
It's just kind of like social media. But then I say, words and things are powerful, like laws of attraction, vision board, stuff like that. You want to make your page your vision board. You know what I mean? So it's like you want to show all your W's, but then at the same time, you're kind of hiding some human shit that you'd like to share too. And that's where you talk about vulnerability. It's like, when do I talk about my vulnerability? Or is that just me? Let me not show that and let me be this superpower that, you know what I mean? And that's something that I actually struggle with because, I usually, when I do my writing, I talk about vulnerability. Like I talk about life shit. Like if I still enjoy writing and I write, about life, but maybe online, I'm reluctant to share personal stuff because I want to keep this facade or keep this mystique. But then at the same time, people gravitate to people that are fellow humans that are going through same adversity. So you struggle with that as a high.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm thinking of like Eminem in the space. His style, without knowing it, was a vulnerable style.
Absolutely.
Right? Like he rapped. I mean, even look at 8 Mile. Right? Like, I am white. Yeah. I am fucking dumb. I did live in a trailer with my mom, and I did get jumped by all 6 of you chumps. Right? Like. That style, and shout out to Sean Degnan for he had one of his, that's my partner. Nice. He had a like speaking engagement that he did, and this was earlier in his career, and he was going back to his alma mater to speak, and he basically was like, "Yo, where do I go?" And the coach just told him like, "Yo, be you." Right. And he basically thought of like his favorite movie in 8 Mile, and was like, "Yo, I just got naked," basically. You know, and not physically, but with just metaphorically. And that's where I think there's the power and vulnerability, because I've never heard anyone be like, "Yo, Eminem is so whack, he's so vulnerable." Right? Like, I've never heard that.
No,
like,
people, because more people are going through issues than people that, there's a small percentage that are like going through this, you know what I'm saying? Yep. This, like, and even the people that are successful are hiding their shit, you know what I mean?
Right.
So people will gravitate to someone that is going through also adversities, you know?
So the no snooze mentality, man, like I was explaining it before, right? But like that logo behind us, it's the iconic logo for sleep is a Z, right? So we just put a line through it, and that's what it is.
It looks like an hourglass too.
Exactly, but you got one life through. My previous co-host, Mike Pirelli, he thought of the hourglass analogy too, right? But not snoozing on life really is a mentality and about waking up and attacking every day. You do that in your life, and it's very evident. But on days that you don't really want to get up and get after it, how do you find a way to not snooze on your life?
You know what it is? I try not to be hard on myself. There's something that a lot of people tell me is like, Scram, you don't sleep. You sleep. Even when I sleep, I only sleep a few hours. You know what I mean? You're moving. Like, rest is still productivity, and people don't look at it like that. People think if I'm doing nothing all day, I'm not being productive, and they'll be hard on themselves. And I was like that until I realized our health depends on our rest, you know what I mean? And if you don't spend time resting, whether it's doing nothing all day but sleeping or lying on your couch, you can't be hard on yourself. You have to give your time to rest because your body is getting depleted off of the go, 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 go. So I just started realizing, like, listen, man, it's okay. As much as I got a million things to do, I'm just chilling right now. You know what I mean? And it's hard because the clock is ticking and other people are moving and you're in competitive mode. But I started like surrendering and saying, you know something? I know I don't sleep enough. I know I'm sleep deprived. If it's a day that I'm tired, I gotta listen to my body. You know what I mean? And I gotta just chill,
I'm still learning that.
Yeah, no.
And I wear this Whoop, man, and this thing is just crazy because, like, even today, my recovery, because obviously we had a late dinner, I woke up real early and worked out. My recovery was at like a 30, and my sleep score is at like a 50 for the day, so it's not good. So that's something that I constantly struggle with. But I want to bring you back to business real quick, because when you were talking about the contractual thing, that's deep, man, like with the royalties. And is there a lesson that you learned that you wish you would have like applied back then? Or are you good with I still created the relationships off of it? Like, talk from a business perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's hard. Everything's a lesson, you know what I mean? And I try to, like I say, always pivot to the grateful side. So, listen, when I did that Mariah thing, I did get a big lump of money that got me a house that I still to this day have, and I raised, you know what I mean? I raised a family in, and it's appreciated and all that. When it comes to the residuals that I didn't get, I said, okay, I learned. One, I had an amateur lawyer who ironically wound up blowing up after me becoming huge, but I was his guinea pig, and he fucked up. You know what I mean? And after he said, no, I didn't. Don't you remember? She said no. I said, bro, even if I had 1 point because you're supposed to get average 3 points, which is like 3% of the master, but even if you had 1 point of a record like that, it would have been 6 figures. So I'm like, all right, you put me in this space where, okay, I gotta bust my ass, but maybe I wouldn't have been such a big club DJ in that, because I would have been home sitting on all this money, and not been out in the world moving and shaking and making because I really made a stamp in New York City during those years when I was doing Greenhouse and doing Whip and all these spots weekly. I had a moment. I was like one of the top DJs. And maybe that would, everything happens for a reason. It's, hindsight is 20/20. You work out like, if that didn't happen, then I wouldn't have done this. So I always have to just say, have to accept it. But moving forward, yes, you need to double check everything. You need to, but you also need to choose your battles, because I've seen people try to get more than they deserve, or send a lawyer to an artist, and the artist say, something, taking it off the album, you're annoying. Like that, artists have done that. They have, because they always make double amount of records. They might have 50 records and choose their best 15 for the app. And if you're giving them a hard time, or you're asking for too much, or this, that, they could easily, or they'll pay you, but they'll never use you again. You know what I'm saying? When you could have been on every album after that, but because that first one, you just wanted that extra 1,000 or 2,500 or that extra point, and you threw them off. So it's like, choose your battles. You know what I mean? So you just got to weigh it out in every scenario,
I'm sure you've heard this, but I'm a big metaphor guy too. It's a lesson or a blessing.
Yeah.
Right? It's
You have to.
It's the only way to look at it.
And you only know years later. I always look at like some of my worst fuck ups, and I'm like, but that made me do this, or that made me meet this person, or that made me change this, and that put me on course. So if I didn't mess up, I wouldn't have rerouted. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I always just accept. I don't like to be too cliche, but it's like, it was meant to be. It's meant to be.
It's a great perspective to have, and I think a lot of people struggle with just perspective in general.
Yeah.
So you're very woke to the influence and the power that perspective has. Talk to me a little bit about fatherhood, man. What's been the best part of it? I guess what do you enjoy most about fatherhood? I'm a father to a 4-year-old girl. Only have one daughter. But I will have more children. I love kids, man.
Absolutely. No, I'm in awe of my son. I really am. My son was born on my birthday.
What?
Born on my 30th birthday.
Wow.
He was born 4/4/4. He's just like a special kid, and we have such a great connection. And he has the same love for music. Same, like he's like my little twin, But growing up, because me and his mother were not seeing eye to eye, and we did separate. And it was a lot of turmoil growing up. I was very nervous that he was gonna, deal with this the wrong way as he got older, and going to the same high school as me. And I knew how much trouble I got into, and his drugs and this and that. I was so nervous that he was, all this bottled up maybe emotions that he's holding in. When he becomes a teenager, he's gonna go to drugs or go to this or lash out. The irony is that he didn't. He went to sports. He's on the varsity football team, lacrosse team. He's doing music. He's so respectful. He spends time with his grandparents. He's just like I'm a super
kid.
Proud kid. And now, we're looking at colleges for him, and I'm in awe. And he also motivates me because he wakes up. He used to wake up 6 a.m. to go to work out. Then he goes to a special class, 7 a.m. to do some acting class. Then the day starts. Then he stayed after for 3 hours for lacrosse practice. Then he go, and I'm like, your days are like 12 hours long. And then you still come home and do homework, but you don't complain. You wake up, make yourself breakfast, take yourself to school, wake me up to go, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm just like, wow, like he motivates me. Because then sometimes on my off days, I'm like, this kid is more productive than me. And, and he's taking piano lessons, learning shit. And I'm like, I want to learn piano lessons. Like, why don't I know these chords, know? So he's inspiring me to like level up with his productivity, because he sends me songs every day, him singing on it, him producing on it. He's cut 5 short movies just for college, submitting to college. He does film editing. I'm like, yo, you're so productive. And, you get tired as you get older. You have your moments, like you say, you lose steam, and you're like, Am I, you need motivation, and he motivates me like crazy to like, you know what I mean, to just keep leveling up.
You're very proud, man.
Yeah,
I love it. I love speaking to, other fathers and seeing that passion. Yeah. But you also said something that's very interesting. You said he's just like me. He's like my little twin.
Right.
Right. And you also said I'm in awe of him. But I bet you would never say that about yourself.
Yeah, well, we're our worst critics. You know what I mean? We're all hard on ourselves. I'm real hard on myself a lot, and because the clock is ticking, and you just you have all these wishes, and if you locked in you could do it, but for some reason your mind may go somewhere, you're distracted, and then days go by and you're like, fuck, I still haven't done these things I wanted to do years ago.
Yep.
But you say, okay, there'll be a time and place, it's still gonna happen. I'm not, but he's way more productive than I was at his. I didn't work out in high school. I didn't, I wasn't taking lessons. I don't know. So he's definitely inspiring me to like keep the battery in my back going.
That's fire, bro. But I think that's a dope thing, and I think the ultimate goal is to have your children be better than you.
Yeah.
Right. So you're on that path, and shout out to you for being a great
sure.
dad, man. And I think he would say that a lot of the hard work and discipline that he's learned is a big testament to watching you.
Yeah. No, but that's one thing I made sure to expose him to everything. Like he's been in 12 years old, he's in the DJ booth with me. He's been on stages with me.
Yeah.
Studio sessions in the house, studio sessions downtown, like watching the recording. I'm having singers come over. He's sitting in and boosted his confidence to where, I want to do this and I could do this, and sharing it, and he's doing plays on stage, and I would always be scared to be in a play. I never did any plays, ironically.
Yeah.
But he's come to the radio station with me, so I'm glad I've been able to expose him to that,
Very dope. What does winning look like for you, man? I know that's the toughest question ever. I got to be honest. But like I heard this great analogy, and I think I've shared it on the podcast before, but just in terms of the parenting, like to have your child grow up and be like, have a family of their own and be in their 20s and 30s, and then want to come back home and spend time with me like around the holidays and stuff like that is a way that like that's winning in life.
For sure.
Right? Because a lot of people make so many sacrifices that they end up sacrificing their children. Yeah. Right? Like you're so gung-ho on the hustle, and you're so focused on building.
I've cut friends off who have cut their kids off. I have friends that haven't seen their kid, and I said, I can't even fuck with you anymore, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you just made me think of that, man. But like, I know, like, I have like two friends that that like had issues with the mother, and then and I'll be like, you see, I haven't talked to him in years, or this, that. I'm like, you giving that lady that much power, bro? Like, I don't even look at you as a man, bro. Like, I can't even hang with you. Like, for you to just, and then I find out the kids aren't doing good and stuff, and I'm like, so anyway, that was just you made me think about that. But I forgot what the original question was.
Winning, like, what does winning look like?
Yeah, winning. Winning is peace, man. Winning is peace for me. You know what I mean? As winning is being able to be in my own space, having financial freedom, having health, and doing what I love. You know what I mean? Whether it's by myself, whether it's with other human beings. I visualize myself on a freaking island with the freaking guitar barefoot. With no Wi-Fi.
Is your belly full or it's fasted?
Yeah. No, eating straight fruit, eating straight fruit off the vines, it's just like you say, life is filled with distractions, and sometimes you're your biggest distraction, and it's been a blessing being a father. Like I say, my son is graduating, about to go to college. I lived in the same house for 19 years. So now he's graduating, I've raised him. He's about to travel. Now it's just me in this house, and I'm about to sell the house. And now I'm like, where do I go? Now is my moment. As much as I might be at a certain age, now I'm not, because my whole life was living with somebody, juggling relationship, juggling being a father, doing this. Now I'm like, shit, I'm getting my wings now. Like I like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna move? Am I gonna go to this desolate island? Am I gonna stay in New York? Am I gonna work on my passion projects? Because I love songwriting, and I've worked with so many singers and I've written so much music that people don't know about as not hip hop, and it's just sitting in my hard drive, and I'd love to share it, but it's like I always put that on the back burner, and I always think to myself, when I have the time, I'm gonna get a studio on the water or the forest or some type of nature vibes, and I'm gonna come out with some beautiful music, and just be in my own space and have financial freedom, etc. So that's me, just peace, but also making music every day and sharing it. I'm not a big sharer as much as people think. I share my DJ stuff. I don't share my personal music, for some weird reason, and that's my own personal thing that I want to do still moving forward. So, but yeah, just that's a long-winded answer. But winning is, like I say, health, peace, financial freedom, and of course, family, keeping the family close and and just being in a
That's
good.
a great vision, man. Like it's funny how like you said something so simple, but then the vision, right? CV was just so clear, so meticulous, and you had mentioned like vision board before, and like I could just tell that you work on yourself and you see these things. But I would challenge you now, like that it's been uncomfortable thus far to share that stuff, but maybe now is the time to do that, right? As you find that piece that you're looking for, maybe this platform that you've created for yourself will now allow you to share that stuff and inspire millions and millions of people along the way.
Yeah, no, there's definitely another chapter that will be emerging. You know, I'm definitely outgrown. I'll never outgrow, but like I said, I lived in New York 40-something years, 20-something years in the industry. A lot of the same gatekeepers. There's musical chairs, you know, whether it's the clubs, whether it's the industry, whether it's the artists, even the sound of the music, the you know, New York City, as much as it's so cultural, there's a lot of static. There's a lot of saturation. There's a lot of 5G. There's a lot of, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of your brain is filled with static. You know, you don't realize till you go take a walk in the forest or some shit, and you're like, whoa. And you compare it to New York City. You know what I mean? Or you compare it, and you're like, if I just break away from this static, I could really, you know, have more clarity and get more productive. Because sometimes it's an overload. Yes. You know, and then with lack of sleep, and then this and that, and you're just like, it's like I love New York, but part of me is like I can get the fuck out of here.
It's stressful for sure. And I love your thought process just on like being 40-something, almost 50 years old. You're like, I'm just getting started. Now's my time. And I think more people who listen to this need to feel that way about themselves too. Like, yes, you've had a whole life already, but you have a whole life ahead if you choose. But also, you're nothing without your health. So those out there that you just
gotta
that
level
you
up
need,
on that. And I always say age is energy. So it's like I know old 30-year-olds and I know young 60-year-olds. You know what I mean? It's your energy. You know, and it's how you.
That's fire.
So it's just like and that's real. I mean,
age is energy.
Yeah. So like fuck a number. Like don't even. They say not even supposed to like. You know, I try not to. When I say my number to people, I bug out, but I'm like, I'm not putting no energy on that because when we were growing up, 47 was old as fuck, and I used to think, you know, my parents are old school, and they were old. Growing up, they were old. When I was a kid, they were old to me. Yeah. But now I meet other parents, and I'm like, we're all so young. Well, not all of us, but a lot of them are so young, and I'm like, wow, we're like the new generation of parents. Like I'm hanging out with my son, going to concerts, like. My parents were immigrants, so like they were totally detached from my culture, and so it's a different world we're in now, you know.
I appreciate today, man. Like you know, and not just in music. What you've done is obviously extremely impressive. You are a legend in the game, so I'm grateful to sit across from you and have this conversation. But I think this conversation went in many different places, man, and I appreciate you opening up and you know sharing your journey with us.
Appreciate having me.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you may have wanted to touch on that, you know, I kind of jumped in and rambled?
No, not at all, man. I just, I appreciate what you're doing in that. And like I say, I mean, you know, we just all got to just stay, you know, with the gratitude, you know, and just, like I say, whatever you think about the most grows, you know what I mean? So it's like, if you're going to think about your problems all day, that's going to be your life. But just, you know, always pivot your brain to your blessings, because there's so many people that got it bad. There's people in the hospital. There's people overseas getting bombed. There's people with one leg with dysfunction. And if we have our health and we still have a future, like, you got to give thanks every day. I know you say you're a man of Jesus, this, that. So it's like, and I know you dedicate your life to thanking him. And it's just like, you know, waking up, writing 10 gratitudes every morning could just shift your brain. You know what I mean? Like, even though we all wake up thinking about our problems. Shit, I got these bills. I got to do this. My house is a mess. But then you're like, I got a house. I got this. You know, I got my health. I got this. And then you just pivot your brain. And I think more people need to do that, especially in this world where it's like we're living in a like a real low vibe moment in time. You know, with what's going on in the world with you know, when going to politics and all that. But it's just. There's a lot of hate. There's a lot of just weird energy. So you got to go with the light. You can't follow. Oof. You know.
Speaking of light, if your lights went out tomorrow, and we just had a clip to hit play on, what would you say to the people?
Oh man, that's too deep for me, bro. I'll be like, listen, thank you for the experience. I'll be back. I'll say I'll be back because I will be back.
I like that.
And I've been here before.
I like that. That's a deep one. Yeah. Even for me, like to think about, if the lights went out tomorrow.
Yeah, no, you got to make that something I have to really think about.
Right. What are you saying to people? That's,
you know, well, just time is precious, man, and just value it. And like I say, enjoy the journey. Don't just be on the destination. I know that's another bumper sticker in that, but it's real because you got to all these experiences. You got to even the fails. You got to still value and still thank you because you learn something from it. You get wisdom. You get character. So you're supposed to fall, or else you're not gonna have thick skin. You're gonna have thin skin. If you never fall, you have thin skin all your life. So you're supposed to build this character. So just be thankful that you didn't die when you fell. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, we pulled it out of him.
All right,
we got the answer. There we go. Guys, we just want to say thank you to you. Thank you for tuning in, whether you listen to 1 or 217 with my brother Scram Jones. We're extremely grateful for you guys. You can shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. And until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it.
Scram Jones in the building, baby. You killed it.
Appreciate you, man. That was dope.
Thank you guys for tuning in. That's another epi in the books. You can follow us on Instagram at No Snooze Podcast and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze. Shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. Come on.